Hello ladies and gentlemen, Teo here, back with some more Ever17. Apologize for the sporadic uploads last week. Unfortunately, Ever17 does not pay the rent, so I can't really justify prioritizing it over activities that do. But with any luck going forward, I won't have any issues making room for both of them, so let's move forward. Although the other explanation is I was just so traumatized by Tsugumi's questionable decision-making when it comes to actions to perform on hamsters in your hand that I had to put the game down for 5 days or so to, get my mental state back to where it needed to be to advance the plot. It is entirely plausible. It's not the case, but, Tsugumi crushed her hands together with all of her might. They pressed together. Her hands were shaking with the effort. From the cracks of her fingers, red droplets started to fall. Jesus Christ. This is some messed up shit. Well, Takeshi, what do you think happened to Chami? Tsugumi's voice was also shaking. Tell me. Tell me! No. Think I'm gonna answer you that? Open your hands. Tsugumi, open up your hands. Please, just open them up. Now. Her hands were shaking heavily as they opened. Chami, Tsugumi, what have you done? He was dead, and his fur was slightly wet. Chami looked like a dirty old dish rag. Probably all of the bones in his body were broken. All of the blood had probably been squeezed from his body. He probably hadn't had any time to wonder it had happened so fast. Oh, yeah, well, I guess we have that going for us. Hamster didn't suffer before we crushed him to death. Go team. His life had been extinguished. So, Takeshi, do you know? What do you think is going to happen now? Tsugumi, cut it out! I shook Tsugumi's shoulders violently. I thought for sure that I would knock her down. I forced her to look at me, but Tsugumi was crying and her lips trembled as she bit down on them. Takeshi, why won't you answer me? Ah! Chami is dead. Won't ever move again. In her hand, Chami seemed to move faintly, as if he had woken up suddenly. His movements were stiff and barely visible and extremely slow, but he was actually moving. His heart had started beating again. He had started thinking again, breathing again. Oh, interesting. So, I guess what I'm supposed to infer from that is that, A, Tsugumi's condition is infectious, which makes sense given the fact that everyone else, contracted TB out of nowhere in Sora's arc. And apparently TB is, crazier than I thought. Or, the level of immortality it confers upon you. There's multiple levels of immortality you can have, right? You can have the doesn't die of old age, right? That's what, I can't remember the fancy biological term for it, but, that's what the Huzimatsus is not decaying is supposed to do, right? You don't die of old age, but you can still get hit by a car, right? But it looks like potentially Chami is on a slightly higher level of immortality where, the body reconstitutes after dying. It probably isn't, deep enough sci-fi that, the body can, completely reconstitute itself after dying. If you get, I don't know, incinerated, you're probably not getting up from that. But looks like just crushing can be repaired. That's interesting, and makes me wonder, what if all the different story arcs, the reason people can't remember what happened is because they die between each of them? They all have TB, right? And if TB makes you immortal, then maybe that's what's happening between the story arcs. I guess it doesn't really explain how, Limu gets reconstructed between each story arc. I think both of the endings we've seen so far, the facility collapses, right? Pretty explicitly in Sora's arc and implicitly in Yu's arc. But, still raises the question of, who is setting up this whole how do you do? Even if we are all immortal, and that's the reason there's multiple story arcs. Still doesn't explain, like, who's going to the effort of, like, rebuilding the bloody facility every time, and so on and so forth. But also possible that, like, the immortality isn't directly related to the multiple roots. He shook himself off slightly, fluttered his ears, and twitched his nose. He got up on shaking legs and even tried to stand. However, there was still blood on her hand. So, Takeshi, what happened to Chami? Our gondola at Kuala had already passed the entrance to the ride twice, and was just starting to make its third pass. One pass wasn't really that long. Altogether, we had only been on it between just over 10 minutes. In that brief time, he had returned to normal and was sitting up on her palm, staring at the two of us inquisitively. Tsugumi was petting Chami softly again with the tip of her finger. Different than the kid. Different than you. You saw it, didn't you? That was real. Chami has the virus. The first time I tried to pet him, he got spooked. He bit my finger, and my blood got all over him. So Chami's just like me now. No. No way. No way. I don't believe you. I still couldn't believe her. Like, I've seen impressive feats of sleight of hand, but, like, the hamster looked pretty dead. Like, if you can pull that off, I'm impressed, but I'm leaning towards believing that actually happened. Or what she had told me about the virus earlier. Or what had happened right in front of me then. See? This little guy's alive. Tsugumi murmured as she looked down. He's alive. He's breathing. His heart is beating. But it hurt, didn't it, little guy? It was painful, wasn't it? I did something terrible. I'm sorry, Chami. I'm so sorry. Forgive me. I was wrong. Interestingly, some percent of the characters, specifically Takeshi and Sora's route, drown. Which, like, under my temporary hypothesis that they're, like, hardcore immortal, is fucked up. Like, ugh. That's just, yeah, I don't want to think about it. That's horrifying. Forgive me, I was wrong. But it's okay because you're alive, right? I started shaking Tsugumi's shoulders again. What the hell are you talking about? How can you say something like that? You just put him through something unimaginable and now you just say it's okay because you're alive? No! Tsugumi brushed my hands off. That's what you said! It's exactly what you said back there! It's enough to be alive. You're the one who said that. So how about it? You saw what happened, right? You saw what happened to Chami, right? What I did to him? You saw it, Takeshi! You say it's enough to still be alive. Well, it isn't. It isn't, no matter what you say. Okay, so this is leading me to believe that Tsugumi probably is doing a much better job of retaining her memories. Assuming that my hypothesis just now is true. She's doing a better job of retaining her memories between the story arcs than everyone else's, which A, is why she's suspicious of the kid for whatever reason, or like, is the impetus behind the suspicion of the kid, and B, is why she's like losing it right here, which is entirely defensible. Because under my, like, under this belief system that I've just created, there is, like, somebody actively fucking with them, right? Like, because there's no time travel involved, just, like, them not dying when they're supposed to. That means somebody has to be, like, physically rebuilding the complex, or, like, putting them in a new complex or something between each story arc, right? And so Tsugumi's been trapped in Limu variants for God knows how long. And, like, even if everyone else is escaping in some of the endings, like, it seems that that's, like, not, or, like, that's farther down the line than what she's experiencing, maybe. Jeez. This is some messed up stuff. I won't believe it! It isn't enough to just have life. You can't say that's living! Also, on a slightly more lighthearted note, that means she's had, like, nothing to eat but chicken sandwiches for, like, months now. Ugh. So, do you understand? Or don't you? Which, like, might explain why she's, like, more or less, like, okay with putting whatever on it, because she, like, just doesn't care anymore. Takeshi, tell me! How about you, Chami? Do you understand? Her face was pointing down. I couldn't see her expression, but I didn't have to. I knew what it was. Tsugumi was crying silently. Countless tears fell from her face, like raindrops falling one by one onto the red-stained floor of Kuala. I didn't know what to say. No words seemed adequate. Hey, do you know how many times I've died? She was trying to stay as calm as she could. I have no idea. I scarcely could move my lips as I replied. I don't remember anymore, anyway. In the beginning, there were said to only be a few of us carriers. But out of all of them, I was special. August 2005. I was 12 at the time. My family went to America because of my father's job. A friend of mine then, Julia, she and I were the same age and she had to go to the hospital. They said it was a terminal disease. She had leukemia and was transferred back and forth to different places, but nobody could help her. But I kept going to see her, to keep up her spirits. Watching her smiling face, I couldn't believe that she didn't have long to live. I thought there would be a miracle. I thought that if I prayed enough, she'd get better. If I cared enough, her pain and suffering would be less. I believed that. Then one day, I got in an accident. An accident? Is that how you got the virus? No. Right after I left the hospital, I got hit by a semi-trailer. Broken bones throughout my body, torn muscles everywhere. I went into a coma. I even stopped breathing. It was hopeless. But, for some reason I didn't die. And a few months later, I woke up in an unfamiliar place. Where am I? It's a hospital. Which one? Well, I don't really know either. You don't know? Haha. I don't know why, but I don't know. My name's Tsugumi Komachi. You? Huh? What is your name? Well, I don't know that either. Sucks, huh? I woke up next to a boy with amnesia. Outside the window was unfamiliar scenery. Wait, is it the kid? I was pretty sure it was somewhere in America. Is it Takeshi? Kid makes more sense because we've already like pretty firmly established that he has amnesia. But depending on like how many times people are dying, then it could be Takeshi as well, although it wouldn't make sense for that Takeshi to have died recently, because if it's the first time he's interacting with Tsugumi, he shouldn't have the virus yet. But in order to find out just where I was, it would take another 8 years. Wait, couldn't you, like, ask a doctor? 8 years? I was there the whole time. Oh! It's down in, like, IBF? I was at that hospital. Who are you? I'm the physician who will be attending to you. Physician? Oh, you mean you're a doctor? Yes, I'm going to find a cure for your sickness and make you all better. Cure me? I got in an accident and got hurt. No, it's a little different than that. Although, if that kid in the background, the guy with the brown hair, is the boy that she's talking about with amnesia, it, like, based on the hair color, it makes more sense to be Takeshi than the kid. Like, the kid's blonde, right? Different. You have a new disease, one that we've never seen before. A new kind of disease. So that was... yes. I don't know how I got it or when. But by the time I woke up, probably before I got in the accident, I was already in the process of becoming immortal. Alright, I'd like to take a little of your blood. Why? Well, it's for research, to find a way to cure you, of course. Research? Your illness is very rare. Rare? There are very few people in the world who have it, and of all those people, you're special. Special? Your genetic code is being rewritten. It's truly fascinating. You're the talk of our whole medical center. I don't understand what you're talking about. Hey, don't worry about it. We're gonna find a way to make you better, I promise. How are you going to get some blood? Well, princess, hey, don't you worry yourself about it. Just give me your arm and we'll be done before you know it. Won't hurt. They came to take blood samples again and again. I didn't think much about it at the time, why they would do that. The doctors kept telling me, it's so that we can find a cure for you. It's so that we can help you and people like you. You'll forgive me if I'm, like, somewhat dubious of that claim. Or, skeptical. I don't think you can be dubious of a claim. Anyhow. You do, like, dubious towards a claim, maybe. Hey, you there next to me. What? You're sick too, aren't you? Me? Well, the same sickness as me? No? I mean, probably not, anyway. You mean you aren't sure? Yeah, I'm fine. I know. I can see the future. Oh, so it is the kid? Huh. When did his hair change color? Or is it the kid? I'm, like, vaguely suspicious that Takeshi and the kid are the same person, but that doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't think the game's given me a mechanism for which that to be the case. This is what he told me. You're gonna have many tragedies in your life, but I don't want you to be sad. The first one in 5 years, then 3 years later, then another 3 years. 5, 3, 3. That adds up to 11. So 5 from then. Do we know how old she was then? Not really. It makes sense for her to be 12, I guess? No, she doesn't look 12, though. She looks younger than that. So it makes sense for her to be, like, 9? That seems plausible. Because she stopped aging at 17, right? So if we have 5 and then 3, presumably there was some impetus for that. So we go 9, 14, 17, 20. How old is she right now? I can't actually remember. She, like, told us fairly recently. It was, what, like 22, 24, something like that? So if we do it from that direction, then she's, like, 13 right now? Anyhow. But you're going to live through all of them. That's pretty much what he told me. It didn't take long for me to understand what he was saying, even at my young age. Tsugumi, take a look. There's a cat and a mouse over there. Oh yeah, they're so cute. I wonder why they're in a place like this. Yeah, the cages are so small it looks painful. They are not in there for any sort of pleasant reason, I can assure you. Based on, you know, contextual evidence I have. You wanna let them out? I wonder if that'd be alright. Should be, come on, let's do it. Hey, wait. Okay, everyone out, run while you can. Crash! Hey, what do you think you two are doing? Oh no, the experiment! Everyone be careful, whatever you do, don't let them bite you! Watch out, they're contagious, wait. Why are the test animals in a place where, like, small children can easily access them? Like, you would think that they would lock these things down better, given that they are infected with a disease that may or may not, like, kill you instantly, or, like, in a week, I guess, or make you immortal. Like, you would think they would lock them down better. They were really mad at us. You opened up those cages so fast, you surprised me. They caught all the animals again. Yep, they're right back to where they were before. In those cramped, small cages. They're trapped again. Why do they have to be locked up that way? Why? I wonder. Why? I slowly started to realize why. I began to understand bit by bit that I wasn't being kept at a hospital, but a research facility. Nobody came to see me, and none of the patients ever left. And there were hardly ever any new patients. And the whole time, I never knew where I was. Oh, they're all gone. You didn't let them out again, did you? No. Oh, well, I wonder where they went then. I don't know. But they shouldn't have been kept in such a cramped space anyway. Yeah. Maybe the researchers thought the same thing and let them go then. No idea. It's no good. We still haven't been able to discover the reason or mechanism behind it. It happened right in front of me, but I still can't believe it. The only explanation I can come up with is genetic transfer. It goes against everything we know about science. They understood up to 4 splicings. I think maybe they could take 8. Let's keep testing. No, if we continue, there's no mistaking it, they're still alive. Might still even react at 16. No, they're not. These aren't living creatures anymore. Is that what you're trying to say? Perhaps that way of thinking might have been correct, according to our old way of thinking. But we have no idea of the possibilities this entails. That's not right. It's crazy. Ah, the mice are still there. They're so cute. Wait, something strange. 1, 2, 3. Huh? Are there more of them? Or less? Wait. Are they, like, cutting the mice in half? And then, like, worm style, like, regrowing them and there's 2? That's messed up. That's real messed up. So wait. Is that what happened to you? Did someone cut her in half, and that's why there's 2 of them? That would make some degree of sense, as bizarre as that sounds. Did someone cut the kid in half? I guess I now have a mechanism for the kid and Takeshi being the same person, to some extent. They're, like, physically too different, though. Although I guess they, depending on when they get cut in half, you can have them, like, develop in different ways. Man, this is weird. But, like, if nothing else, I'm glad that I'm finally being given a sense of, like, the exact mechanisms of the sci-fi bullshit behind the story, because that lets me make much more informed hypotheses, right? Like, knowing that the Tiefblau makes you immortal and probably can be cut in half to make copies goes like a long way towards giving me like tools to come up with explanations for things. Did they put the cats back in their cages? The cover's locked. I can't get it off. Huh? What? Hey kid, where'd the kid go? Answer me. Get out of here. It's time for you to leave. It's what it was like for 8 years, day in and day out. Every single day. The researcher called for me, telling me, I'm your friend. The truth is, he wasn't. I was being forced to do all of these tests and experiments, and they just used me like some tool. I stopped being able to feel pain or to suffer. When I went back to bed, all I could do was cry. Then one day the kid next to me didn't come back. Takeshi, do you know why? Yeah. I mean, no, I don't know, but... So I don't have to explain it to you? Yeah. If it's too painful for you, you don't have to say anything more. Tsugumi was stroking Chami with her trembling fingers. I put my hand lightly on Tsugumi's shoulder, to suddenly get hit by a virulent disease, and become someone who would never age. Spend 8 years trapped in a research facility. I couldn't imagine how it must have been to go through all that. I hate it. And I hate myself for talking about it. It's funny, isn't it? Whenever I'm with you, I find myself talking about the stupidest things. It's okay, you don't have to talk. I'm so sorry. It was totally irresponsible what I said back there. It was careless of me to talk about being alive like it's just a given. I don't want your pity. It's too late. It isn't like that. It's not like that. Tsugumi, I was wrong, okay? You were wrong? She screamed suddenly. Don't tell me that! You don't just take back what you say? Not that easily. You want irresponsible? That's irresponsible! I didn't know what to tell her. You're just like them. You don't understand anything. You throw around words like friend without really meaning it. You don't understand anything about how I'm feeling. You don't understand anything about what the kid's feeling. She was making me feel like it had been a mistake to say I'd been wrong. No, that wasn't it either. The truth was, there was no such thing as right and wrong. People who are alive should live as long as they can. You said that, didn't you? I'll survive. I'll probably die many times more and I'll still be alive. Chami here, too. But Takeshi, can you say that you're really alive right now? Are you really there in front of me now? What's wrong? You said you'd accept everything I had to say, right? You said that, right, Takeshi? She bit her lip. Her shoulders were shaking. She looked bitterly disappointed. Disappointed. That when she tried to live, she ended up dying. And when she tried to die, she ended up living. It was a process that repeated itself over and over without end. It wasn't right or wrong, it was her reality. And it was something that she had no choice but to accept. But I still wasn't able to accept it. So stupid. I'm stupid. But you know what? You're way stupider than me. The gondola swayed. We had arrived at the end of the ride. I had no idea how many times we'd passed by Koala. The door opened suddenly. She got up quickly and opened the door. Tsugumi! I stuck out my hand to grab her, but she swatted away immediately. Don't touch me! Don't touch me! Slam. She closed the door from outside. The jellyfish I was riding on started moving again. Stupid, I muttered to myself. Stupid idiot. I said it myself. I said it to her. I said it to no one and nothing in particular. To everything. Outside the window was the ocean. An ocean closed off from the light. When I passed under the shadow of the installation, the gondola became dark. And inside of the darkness, all alone in the darkness, I bit hard down on my lip as I cried. Soon it was night. In the conference room, you, Coco, and Pee-Pee were waiting. Even the kid. It looked like the kid had calmed down some. While I'd been gone, it seemed that you and Coco had been able to talk some sense into him. You told me that he'd probably been upset by a recurring memory, and had gotten worked up in spite of himself. I felt that I'd gotten out of hand and had said some terrible things myself. I went around to everyone there and apologized. Soon afterward, a report came to us in the conference room directly from Lemma's terminal. You read out the contents to all of us. Third floor, drew a stock partition schematic. The Cosmic Whale Room had flooded completely. Casualties, none. Flooding to other rooms, none. So yeah, that's weird. Wait! Interesting. I just got another idea. So if they can survive splitting up to like 8 or 16 times, it's possible that all of the story arcs are going on simultaneously. I don't necessarily love that theory. In fact, I don't like it at all, but it is a possibility that I should at least consider. Nah, that doesn't make much sense. Or like it doesn't answer more questions than it raises, and like it doesn't sort of help answer any of the big questions I still have remaining. Like, predominantly what the hell's going on with Coco, because I was really hoping that Coco would go to the whale room at some point in this arc, because she didn't in Sora's arc. And I need her to support my theory that the Coco in the kids' route is like a hologram or like a imprint or something of the Coco from these routes, like doing the same things. I don't know. Like I still don't have a good sort of explanation for that I've been able to come up with. Chance of damage spreading, none. Shivering slightly in the cold, I wrapped my arms around my knees and we all went to sleep. The sound of boiling, bubbling oil filled the room. I fried the chicken in silence. After getting up, we all gathered in front of the sandwich shop as usual. As luck would have it, everyone showed up at the same time. I guess I could have called it lucky. Oh, the kid isn't as blonde as I remembered. I guess I like the theory more that Takeshi and the kid are like the same person cut down the middle now. I mean, it's still kind of weird, and I'm not like 100% on board, but it's at least plausible. Hardly anyone said a thing. Everyone had glum expressions on their faces and ate silently. It was a strange atmosphere surrounding us. For some reason, it had become hard for us to look one another in the eyes. It felt like the beginning of a bottomless rift amongst us. And at the same time, there was a strange smell in the air. Sizzle. Ah! There was smoke coming from the tip of my finger. Smoke! Smoke! Ah, that's hot! I'd been firmly pressing it against the grill. Well, in the immortal words of Malcolm Reynolds, my days of not taking you seriously are certainly coming to a middle. I hastily cut the power. A juicy smell, not unlike sausage, was coming from the burnt tip of my finger. Ow, that hurts! Ah, I'm such an idiot. As I blew on my finger to cool it off, I looked around at everyone. They all noticed, but they had all turned their gazes down. Only Pee-Pee was kind enough to acknowledge me. Yeah, Pee-Pee, I burnt myself pretty good. But soon, even Pee-Pee turned his face away from me. Wow, rejected by the dog. That's pretty low. Hey. It seemed that like everyone hated me. I felt totally alone. The sandwich I just finished cooled and soon it was no longer tasted palatable. It felt like the morning after a funeral. Everyone knew why things had sunk so low. Everyone knew, but nobody wanted to say anything. A moment of carelessness had opened our hearts up to despair. They shoveled the chicken sandwiches into their mouths in silence. After we were all finished eating, everyone went to the conference room. There's an important reason why I've called all of you here. There's something that I wanted to inform you about as soon as possible. I know it's difficult, but it's important for you to accurately realize the full gravity of the situation. Please don't panic, settle down, and listen carefully. Sora paused for a second. This is where she tells us that, like, the facility is gonna explode in X number of hours, right? Or, like, when she tells us the exact time of predicted collapse. Yeah. So I'm gonna grab some... Damn it. I was gonna grab some water while I was skipping through text, but we have caught up to the text. I needed to be listening more attentively to Sora's report. Just like you, Coco, Kid, Pee-Pee, and even Tsugumi. Everyone was listening calmly to what Sora had to say. No one was panicking yet. Last night, Tsugumi's yells had pierced my heart, yet her bitter bullet didn't come out my back. It remained lodged inside as a constant reminder. She refused to look at me. Instead, Tsugumi just stared blankly in front of her. Perhaps that was for the best. No, that wasn't just it. Something else was bothering me. I tuned back into the affairs at hand, listening carefully to Sora's report. The normal communication channels are still not functioning. Alright, now I'm gonna grab some water. Hopefully this will last long enough that I won't get punished. Damn it. The gloomy atmosphere that had been hanging over the gathering lightened, and everyone started thinking about how they should spend their time. Sora's smile instilled everyone with courage. I was grateful for that piece of code in Sora's AI, the function that allowed her to be calm in times of trouble. We transferred to the rest area. Alright, third time's the charm. Alright, we did it. We successfully put the water in my mouth while the text was skipping. Go team. What are they doing right now? Ah yes, they're partying. Can't remember, what does the party get broken up by? Is it the party that gets... Does it get broken up by Coco, like, suddenly, like, oh, interesting. Hi. I was shocked to see her. I totally blanked and went speechless. Is there a reason I shouldn't be here? Tsugumi spit out her words coldly. It was typical Tsugumi. No, not at all. Tsugumi, how about you help us out? Well, alright, I suppose I don't really have a choice. Tsugumi nodded reluctantly. So what should I do, Coco? Well, let's see. Tsugumi glanced at me. She didn't say anything and looked away quickly. Her eyes seemed dead. Thinking about it made me sad. 1 hour later, we began our party in an elevated part of the rest area. Was it saying? Oh yeah, I can't remember how the party ends. Like, was it with Coco starting to spit up blood? I don't think that was the case, right? The part where Coco starts spitting up blood is when she's breaking up the argument between Tsugumi and Sora. Speaking of Tsugumi, after finishing my sandwich, I got up the nerve to speak to Tsugumi. What? What do you want, Takeshi? Tsugumi crouched on the stage. I crouched beside her and looked to see what she was doing. There, Tsugumi was drawing something on the stage with a thick marker. As usual, Tsugumi didn't look at me. Ah, well, it's... She stopped scribbling for a moment. I decided to come out and say what I had to say. About yesterday. I'm sorry, I didn't know what to say, but... About what? I don't really know what you're talking about. Tsugumi was curt in her response. Tsugumi, you're joking, right? There's no way you could have forgotten. I know I haven't. It's not something you can just simply forget about. Really, it's not something you can talk about casually, but... Her eyes wandered around the room for a moment. Then she looked down again at the scribbles she had been drawing. I don't really care. I don't care about what happened yesterday. So, would you please stop talking about it? Don't say anything. Tsugumi was back to her drawing on the stage floor. Trying to think of a way to get out of here, too. So don't bother me. Tsugumi refused to look at me as she spoke. After that, I felt a little gun-shy. Okay, then. I stood up and left her there. I walked over towards where Sora was. Hey, Sora! Hello. What may I help you with, Takeshi? Sora smiled softly when she looked at me. Nothing much. I just have a lot on my mind. Right now, Lem is handling operations and will alert me if any trouble arises. Lem is also currently continuing investigation of means of escape as well as communication with the outside. Please do not worry. Thanks, Sora. That helps. Can I ask what time it is? I need to set it on my... No problem. The current time is... Hold on for a second. I took my PDA from my pocket. What I did. Excuse me, Sora. Ah, yes, Tsugumi. What's on your mind? Tsugumi was suddenly standing right between Sora and I. Tsugumi let out a nervous laugh. There's something I want to tell you, in private. Okay. So, like, they go and talk about that in the control room, and then some stuff happens. And then they, like, go check on the control room because they've been there forever? Is that the case? Hey, Takeshi. About Tsugumi's injury. It's healing really quickly. She didn't even need stitches, you know. Tsugumi seems like she leads a normal life, just like you and me. And I try not to worry too much about her and just accept things as I see them, but that just isn't normal. She looked down at her feet when she spoke. Have you heard about Tsugumi's condition? No, I haven't. Wait, I might have. You can really be vague sometimes, you know. Which one is it? I'm sorry, I forgot. Forgot? So you're one of those indecisive type of guys, huh? Come on, say something. I was silent. I figured it was something just between Tsugumi and me. And I didn't really know enough about her condition to say, yeah, I know something. Plus, I was still having a difficult time believing the whole thing. Even when I saw it with my own eyes, part of my brain refused to accept it. Let's just drop it. You really forgot, didn't you? Well, I suppose there's nothing we can do about it. How come you asked me about it? I wonder why. You said that sarcastically, playing dumb. And then a serious look formed on her face. The truth is, when I was looking at Lemma, I came upon some interesting information in the medical database. It was from the Lieblich Pharmaceutical database. Lieblich Pharmaceutical? Database? I think they use it during treatment in the they use it during treatment in the infirmary, but Coco and Pee-Pee, I could hear the splashes from their running echo. When I scoured the database, I couldn't believe what I read. Body that doesn't grow old. A mutated body type because of a virus. It shakes the foundations of modern science. I might have found something related to Tsugumi's condition. In the database, I searched through a number of old medical records. I found one that mirrors Tsugumi's condition. Generally speaking, the number of cases of victims of this virus known is pretty small. What? Hey, hold on a sec. How come Limu has that kind of information? Because they're the ones who are keeping her cooped up in the research lab. I don't know, why ask me? All I do know is the data and the name of the virus. The name of the virus? Yeah, the name. It's called Tiefblau? Cure? Wait. Huh. It's not Tiefblau? I mean, that makes a lot of sense, given that the symptoms are very different, like, Cure makes you not die, and then Tiefblau makes you die. But this sort of throws a wrench in my theory about the cast all getting killed off, and then a new route happens afterwards. Because like, the reason that theory was so clean is because you can just assume that Sora's route is the first chronologically, and then we watch them all get TB, right? Like, literally everyone. I can't remember if you got it or not. But yeah, I think everyone except Tsugumi got it, which makes sense. But if Cure and Tiefblau are different, then that sort of throws a wrench in my theory. Cure? Cure. I pondered the name for a moment. Just then, everyone, we got trouble. Kid came running into the room yelling. And this is the part where, like, they find out about the argument, and then Coco starts coughing up blood, etc., etc. So, Cure, huh? Have I heard that mentioned before? I don't think I have. That doesn't sound particularly familiar. Like, was that one of the things that, Yu's mom mentioned in, or, like, that they alluded to Yu's mom telling them about in Yu's epilogue? I can't remember or not. It was... There were, like, a bunch of terms that I had no good reason to know what they were. Like, still don't know what Blake Winkle is. And I only remember that one because it sounded funny. But they may or may not have mentioned Cure, then I can't remember. Although, interestingly, I'm gonna be really interested to see how this route ends. Because, like, the only reason Takeshi dies in Sora's route is because he, like, wants to go back after Sora's data. But in this route, he doesn't give a shit. Right? So he's probably just gonna escape on the sub with everyone else. Which means that either something terrible happened to the sub, or, like, they're gonna get out. And maybe I'll get more information then, but in any case, a virus that was totally different than the one Tsugumi had? Coco! The kid ran over to Coco's side and held on to the table. Oh, that was literally the only new content. It was just Takeshi remarking on the fact that Tiefblau is not in fact Cure, which normally I complain about the, like, slight changes to a single line because they don't feel super impactful, but here it's actually super relevant that that gets brought up because it sort of reinforces sort of the weirdness there. Because now we go back to still having an explanation for why Tsugumi didn't get Tiefblau in Sora's route, but we don't sort of have that neat explanation I came up with just now about everyone contracting Cure and then them all dying over and over to support the different routes. And, like, if they don't all have Cure, then my initial setup of Takeshi and the kid being the same person cut in half, and then Yu and her mom being the same person cut in half, don't make sense, because if they had cure, then they wouldn't have contracted teeth Lao, probably. Or even if they did, they wouldn't have shown symptoms. Tsugumi, do you think there's a way to open it up? What are you talking about, Takeshi? Right, and this is where we're taking the door off. What next? Just ask Sora, because then I get to skip some more. So yeah, I think that's probably the last thing I'm like actively looking forward to in this route is finding out how it ends, because we're gonna get some new information there. I don't really have a great idea of how divergent it's gonna be once we get near the end, because I haven't oh right, I have to make a different choice here. I probably don't have to, I probably have enough points to get the good ending, but be on the safe side, and also, you know, new content. Hey, wait just a second. As soon as I said that, Tsugumi glared needles at me. What's the matter, Takeshi? You aren't chickening out now, are you? No, that's not it. If we're gonna spend an hour stuffed into that little room, I just wanted to make sure everyone was ready. You know, check to see if everyone had gone to the bathroom. Brush their teeth, take a shower. If you're gonna bring a snack, make sure it's reasonable. I heard the two rather large sighs. Saying something like that at a time like this, you really are a moron. Takeshi, it'll only take an hour. I'm sure everyone can wait. More importantly, we need to hurry, okay? Hey man, the bathroom break thing was like a perfectly legitimate concern. It seemed that everyone was tired of my jokes. Oh wait, that was a joke? I couldn't actually tell. I just wanted to put everyone at ease. Okay, I'm sorry. So let's get moving then. When I said this again, you, the kid, Tsugumi, Sora, and Pee-Pee all nodded in unison. The kid and you held the unconscious Coco between them. Tsugumi and I picked up the researcher, and Pee-Pee took up the rear. Everyone lined up at the transparent sliding door on the far side of the room. I'm a little bit curious as to how that, like, gives us a point towards Tsugumi's route. Like, it sounded like Tsugumi was, like, just as irritated with him as everyone else was. So far, it's all been the same. They're, like, sticking people in treatment pods. So yeah, I sort of have, like, a bunch of competing theories as to, like, what's going on, and I don't really like any of them meaningfully more than other ones. Like, they might all have contracted cure at some point and are dying between each story arc. They might have some people getting stuck in the cryotubes, because that is a sort of plot device that they introduced that has not, I think, fully been taken in, or like hasn't been fully used, right? Like, they sort of explicitly called out the fact that we have access to cryostasis as a mechanic near the end of Sora's route, and again just now, I assume. Obviously I wasn't reading that fast, but that was the scene, if I remember correctly. And like, that can explain a good portion of the cast, right? I think I went over that all back when I was finishing up Sora's route. We'd finished making our rounds. The kid had gone back earlier with you and Coco into the examination room. Tsugumi and I were in the corridor talking. This is probably one of the points where it starts diverging meaningfully. No other options, huh? Yeah. So what are we gonna do? What do you mean? I'm thinking about that right now. Really? Tsugumi smiled slightly. You really like to waste your time, don't you, Takeshi? This isn't wasting time. Sorry, but it just seems like something you'd do. Thinking about things that are impossible. When I said that, Tsugumi puffed up her cheeks. No, I don't mean that. Why do you have to tease me? Never thought I'd hear you say that. No idea what to do, but we'll find a way out of this somehow. We've made it this far. Tsugumi laughed at my efforts to sound positive. Yeah, I'm sure we'll be fine. Yeah, that's right, we're gonna be okay. From a distance, a roaring sound reverberated throughout the installment. It seemed that it was transmitted through the water to IBF. I wondered if it was the sound of the thermal... I wondered if that was the sound of the thermal vents. Or was it coming from Limu? The situation surrounding us was exceedingly grim, and we were only left with the option of postponing the inevitable. Hey, Tsugumi, about the old guy. The researcher? Too bad, huh? Yeah, but I was thinking, why was he the only one left here? Everyone else got out earlier, right? Well, besides those guys that didn't make it. I'm sure some kind of circumstances kept him from escaping. Circumstances that kept him alive. Circumstances? Do you remember the entry logs we found on the terminals? Yeah, there were a few of them. Wait, are you saying... You remember that journal entry we found? Oh, it was him? His last words have been, take care of my daughter. I think that was Coco's dad. T.Y., Mr. Yagami, huh? He probably knew that Coco was here when the accident hit Limu. Yeah, I'm sure he did. Maybe he survived because he was thinking about his daughter. The two of us leaned against the wall and looked calmly at the waves lapping in the pool. What do you think about Coco's condition? Why did Coco get TB anyway? Well, Coco had been to IBF at least once before May 1st. Okay, so we're back on that theory as to why the cast contracted TB. The initial carrier was Coco, or PP, potentially, when she went to IBF, and then everyone else caught it from her, and the reason Tsugumi didn't contract it was because cure. So that all makes sense. It's a little bit unfortunate because it doesn't explain quite as much of the other stuff as I would have liked it to, but at least it's internally consistent. Maybe there was already an outbreak of the TB virus at that time. What? TB's incubation period is 2 to 7 days, and that's consistent with the timing of Coco's symptoms, isn't it? Yeah, I guess you're right. When Coco came to IBF, she was probably exposed to TB somehow. Talking to myself, I figured it had to be the most probable possibility. However, everyone at IBF probably didn't realize the terrible truth that TB was spreading inside the installation. When they found that a few people had become infected, they must have panicked, and the situation got out of hand. Interestingly, the reason that our cast got trapped in Limu might have actually just been like a quarantine effort. Again, it's not a theory that I'm particularly married to, but it's at least plausible, right? Like, it gives a motive for some actor or actors to intentionally trap people in Limu because they're carriers of some dread disease. And it also explains, if that is the case, then it explains why they were sort of allowed out in the kids' route. Because presumably, I don't know, maybe they were running tests from outside, and they were like, alright, everyone's clear, because Coco wasn't part of the party at that point. Right, so nobody had anyone to contract the disease from, and once they find out that everyone's clean, then they can let them out. Like, that seems plausible. And then, in Takeshi's route, they're like, oh, they're all positive, better let them die. Or something to that effect. Like, in fact, that would be an explanation for sort of why, if everyone, like, gets on the sub and dies, right, then that would be a reason why. Like, if there is a party actively invested in keeping them from getting outside. And previously I was struggling to come up with a motive for the other actor. But this is now a motive that makes perfect sense. Like, contain the spread of a dread disease if we have to sacrifice 6 teenagers to keep it from, like, getting out into the general populace. That is a sacrifice we're probably willing to make. The good of the many outweighs the good of the few. When they found out that a few people had become infected, they must have panicked. The situation got out of hand. As people started dying, staff here tried to escape, and when the escape pods ran out... Wait, that means... That alarm meant... The alarm that we heard on May 1st in Limu was... I couldn't stop myself from asking. Tsugumi frowned and continued. Probably one of the terrified staff members forced their way up from IBF to Limu. Without following the standard decompression procedure, they opened the emergency corridors and fled up to Insul Null. Those corridors remained open for a while, and the built-up gas inside the complex quickly escaped, bringing down the pressure. A section of Limu started flooding, and the watertight doors closed. So that's why the complex went down? That makes a lot of sense, actually. Man, that's so much less exciting than I'd hoped. I was hoping for, like, terrorists. That's how we ended up getting stuck here? Yep, that's right. Meaning the alarm that went off in Limu was for the abnormal installation pressure readings in the virus outbreak. You could say it served a couple of functions. I can't believe it. All I could do was sigh in frustration. That's the reason that no rescue team is coming here? Sure, that's it. With a solemn face, Tsugumi nodded. If the TB virus got out to the world outside, it would be devastating. And even if there were survivors in here, it'd be necessary to lock them up at the bottom of the ocean. Lieblich Pharmaceuticals may even be trying to hide the fact there was an accident at all the while knowing that we're trapped in here. I kicked at the rusted bolt that had fallen at my feet. It bounced into the pool with a splash and slowly sank. Then we walked around, making stomping sounds as I went. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. It's kind of anticlimactic. I was hoping for it to be like more sort of world-shattering, but I guess like containing the spread of like this makes more sense. Like it's more logical, it's more internally consistent, and I would prefer that over like a ham-fisted like attempt to be like as, I don't know, badass as possible. So I can appreciate that. The sounds of our feet echoed loudly off of the walls of the narrow corridor. And I'm also willing to consider that, like, we don't necessarily have the full picture yet. Like, it's possible that the next two routes simply just answer more of the questions that were left unanswered here, but it's also possible that they, like, overturn the logic of... or, like, the logic that's presented here. I don't know. It seems pretty plausible, though. Like, real fucking plausible. Like, I would be more surprised if it weren't true than if it were. The sounds of our feet echoed loudly after the walls of the narrow corridor. Well, if that's the case, then, well, you know, it means we gotta get ourselves back up to the surface no matter what. Why's that? So that I can tell the media all about what's happened here, that's why. I'm gonna put it to Lieblich. No matter what, okay? I'm not gonna lie, you seem to have missed the bigger message here, which is that if you all go outside, you may be single-handedly responsible for the deaths of hundreds, or thousands, or millions. Okay. It's more like the Takeshi I know. Puffing out her cheeks slightly, Tsugumi looked at me. Really? Yeah, me too. I want to go with you, Takeshi. Together. Oh, did you say something? It's nothing. For some reason, Tsugumi's face was red. This feels a little ham-fisted. Like... I feel like the length of time it took her to go from I hate you and I never want to like look at your face again to, I don't know, blushing maiden was like, I feel like there was not enough setup there. Like, some of the romantic arcs felt plausible. This one feels less plausible, but what do I know about the mysteries of the human heart? Very little. Less than I know about the mysteries of Limu and IBF, and that's saying something. Huh? I felt strange and stopped suddenly. I looked up. Takeshi, what's wrong? Tsugumi followed my gaze to the ceiling. There was nothing there. She returned her gaze to me. I'm not really sure, but for some reason it's hard to breathe all of a sudden. Takeshi? Your nose is bleeding. You've got a nosebleed. I hurriedly wiped my nose on my hand. My upper lip was wet with something. Hey, are you okay? Tsugumi looked worriedly at my face. Fine, I'm fine. Looking up and wiping under my nose, I replied. I wasn't thinking anything sexual. Absolutely. Positively. It's not like I don't care about that. Well, alright then. The blood wouldn't stop flowing. I look like such a dork. Who cares what you look like? I care. Looking like this in front of you, Huh? What? Come on, what? Tsugumi started shaking my shoulder. I let out a huge sneeze. Splat. Blood started dripping not only from my nose, but my mouth as well. Red flecks splattered on the floor and walls. Whoa! I was suddenly assaulted by dizziness. The world felt like it was spinning. For some reason, I can't keep steady. Although I didn't feel so great, it seemed funny for some reason, and I laughed. What's with this? Takeshi? Takeshi, hang in there. Quit shaking me, it's making me feel ill. Sorry. Hey, I'm fine. Don't worry, Tsugumi. You're not fine at all. You're bleeding all over, Takeshi. We should go to the examination room and take a look at you at once. Oh, yeah. This isn't good. Gotta get a hold of myself. I tried to calm myself down. With Tsugumi supporting me, I walked down the corridor. Just then, a door flew open in front of us. It was the examination room. Out of it flew you. Takeshi! Tsugumi! The kid's in bad shape. Her face changed color as she shouted. The kid, what's wrong? He's in trouble. It'll be faster if you come in and look. No, Takeshi, you too? You noticed the shape I was in and her face turned pale. Takeshi too? What are you talking about? The kid was sleeping on the LMRI table. His results from the scan came up on the control panel's monitor. Teeth Blau 2017, Rev17. The kid's been infected with Teeth Blau too. How could that happen? Why? He's been with us the whole time. So why did he get... Why and where did he get TB? I mumbled to myself, finding it hard to breathe all of a sudden. Takeshi, just calm down. None of us know where he got exposed. None of us know where he got exposed to it. Takeshi, I want you to get scanned too. Why? Just let me scan you, please. It isn't normal to start spewing blood from your nose and mouth, okay? Yeah, I know, but... Tsugumi gently took the kid off the LMRI examination table and forcefully put me up on it. Pressing on both of my shoulders, she forced me down on the table. You don't have to do that. Fine, I'll let you check me. I brushed Tsugumi's hands off of me. See? I'm lying down now. Okay, you, please start the scan. No, okay. You started operating the control panel. The scanning light from the laser crawled slowly up my body. After a while, the scan's finished. What's it say? My voice cracked when I asked the question. At least say something, you. The results are... You stared at the panel without moving. The results are back. You're infected too, Takeshi. Tsugumi read the monitor for me. Really? Sorry to say it, but... Since coming to IBF, no, it must have been longer since coming to Limu, all of us. Been infected for quite some time. Tsugumi hung her head down and let out a big sigh. Damn it. Of course, this begs the question, like, who else did Coco infect while, she was wandering out and about with, a dread disease, right? Like, she was definitely out in the open, probably, unless she, like, went to IBF after the, or, like, during the prologue. And even then, she probably interacted with, like, other park-goers, right? Oh, no, right, because Coco went to IBF before the outbreak, right? Like, that's the only reason they let her leave. And just from a chronological standpoint, it doesn't make much sense for her to be going back into Limu. Like, I just feel like there isn't enough time for her to, like, come into Limu during the prologue when we see her, go down to IBF, then come back out of IBF, and then the guy in IBF finds out that he has Teeth Blau and goes crazy and tries to leave. Like, just feels like there isn't enough time for all that, which means that Coco would have had to been to IBF, and then come out, and then been wandering out and about with Teeth Blau, infecting God knows how many people, and then comes into Limu during the prologue. Like, it's possible that the only people she's interacted with are the main cast, since she got infected, but it doesn't seem likely. Like, I'm pretty sure there is, like, a decent chance there is a major outbreak going on right now. Unless, I guess, Limu is quarantining the rest of, like, the people who visited the theme park? I don't know. But anyways, on that speculative note, I'm closing the video for today. Looks like we're pretty close to the end of Tsugumi's route, so we'll probably be able to finish that up tomorrow. And I'll be looking forward to it, and I hope you all will too. I will catch you then. Peace.